Our country, a member state of the African Union, would present to the AU a concrete program Africa should follow, practically to define and find its rightful place in the emerging multipolar world. Thus, at last, would Aziz's dream be realized of ensuring that Africa interacts with the rest of the world as an equal among equals.
Former President Thabo Mbeki says South Africa must lead efforts to ensure that Africa responds timely to the ever-evolving global balance of forces. Mbeki delivered a keynote address at the inaugural dialogue to preserve the legacy of the extraordinary diplomat and former Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister Aziz Pahad. He says Pahad never feared responsibility.
That delegation of Aziz Pahad wrote a report and said, in fact, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And that report was submitted to the UN Security Council. When the President George Bush at some point called me to say that he was very, very concerned about the possibility of this war and wanted to avoid it if he could, I said to him, there is a report at the Security Council which says there are no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And he should please access that report. I don't know if he did. But I'm telling you this story because just as an indication of the kind of serious engagements in which Aziz would get involved.
The former president also touched on the current tension between the US and South Africa.
South Africa itself, of course, has been exposed to some action by the Trump administration. The challenge remains, with all these various assessments of what the Trump administration stands for, how should we relate to the US under the Trump administration? In my view, not a very straightforward matter, but I believe that in this regard, DECO must give us the lead. As Aziz insisted, we are seeing the emergence of a multipolar world, to which Anjana here referred. The issues we've been discussing are part of that multipolarity. And many were surprised when the new US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said during an interview on the 30th of January this year, and I quote, "So it's not normal for the world to simply have a unipolar power. That was an anomaly. It was a product of the end of the Cold War, but eventually you are going to reach back to a point, where you had a multipolar world. Multi-great powers in different parts of the planet." He said, we face that now with China and to some extent Russia.
We continue to value our mutual beneficial trade relations with the USA, and we continue to extend a hand to bridge our recently challenging relationship with South Africa. I know that there is a yearning from some amongst us that for us to show that we are courageous, we should be trading insult with other countries, ignoring all the firm and courageous positions that this country has taken on progressive internationalism. We are practicing diplomacy. We are not in the business of trading insults with anyone in the world. We will remain firm on our principled positions. We will continue to pursue our national interests in line with diplomatic decorum. If we disagree with any country, it should be on the basis of substance and not on the basis of insults.
Mbeki's speech focused on the Trump administration and its overall impact in the world as the trade war intensifies and the dynamics between Pretoria and Washington.
It was intentional because the question of the US is occupying everyone's mind. Trump is shaking every tree around the world, the Europeans, the Africans. So the challenge that the president raised was how do we interface with this new administration in Washington? And he was emphasizing global political issues, changing multipolarity, as to is there institutional capacity within DECO to interface and deal with these new emerging challenges. There are challenges, there are opportunities too in what the Trump administration is presenting around the world.
Khayelihle Khumalo, SABC News, Pretoria.